Hello, my name is Felipe Yamamoto, and today I'm going to be presenting my code and the code applied on the FPGA for the project of the Digital Circuits Lab class. So over here you can see the variables that I used. I used a variable for the permit, the pay, the clock for the register, two 8-bit arrays P1 and P2, which represent the parking spots on the first and the second floor. The variables AN1, A1, B1, C1, D1, F1, G1, and E1 were used for the 7-segment display. I also created a variable for the first floor and the second floor in the gate, which are going to be used as the first, second, and third LED on the FPGA to show if the gate in the first floor and the second floor if they're open or closed. I also had to create some wired variables such as the gate 2 and the payment 2 because I was having some conflicts with variables. And I also have Q and Q2 that were used to convert a 8-bit number into a 4-bit number, and the variable R was used to combine Q and Q2, and this variable R was used to display the number on the 7-segment display. I also used the variable foo as a 14-bit array that was used to check if all the previous spots were taken. And I also used W and W2 to check the requirements if the parking spot could be taken or not. I also used the register for the permit and pay. On this line 46, you can see that I used the variable payment, which is nothing more than the permit and pay ORD. And on line 50, I used an AND gate to attend the requirement that the gate cannot open if the garage is full. As you can see, all the parking spots are there. And as I said at the beginning of the video, the variable W and W2 were used to check if the spot could be taken. So for the floor 1 parking 1, on line 55 for example, the parking spot P10 or the first spot will only be taken if the gate is open, if there's a payment, which means that there's a pay or permit, and if the first parking spot is open. It's also important to notice that starting from parking 3, I noticed that it would be easier to create a variable to check if all the previous parking spots were taken or not. So I started using the foo variable for all the other ones. And also I followed the same logic for parking 1 in all the other parking spots, and I also used the foo variable. And over here you can see how I use the variable Q to convert the 8-bit number W into a 4-bit number, and I use the same logic for Q2. I also use the variable R to combine Q and Q2, and I use this variable R to display the parking spot number on the 7-segment display. As you can see on line 149. And on line 145 and 146, 145 is to make the floor 1 available if there's any spots available on the first floor, and line 146 is to make the second floor available only if all the spots on the floor 1 are taken. And over here are the modules I use for the 7-segment display and for the register. Now let's go to the master file. You can see that I put the clock and all the parking spots as the switches for the first and the second floor. The gate, the floor 1 and floor 2 will be on the LEDs. The variables for the 7-segment display, and the buttons that are going to represent the pay and the permit whenever I press them. So here's the presentation of my project. So the first button means the permit, the button at the bottom means the pay. So whenever I press one of the two buttons, the gate opens. As you can see, when I press the first button at the top, the first LED turned on, which means that the gate is open. The second LED means that the first floor is open, and the third LED means that the second floor is open. Now I'm filling up the spots in order, and as you can see, whenever a spot leaves, I need to fill that spot first so I can start filling the other ones. And now that I'm on the second floor, the third LED turned on, and whenever all the spots are full, the gate is closed. And again, as you just saw, the third spot on the first floor was open. So for me to be able to fill the spots on the second floor, I need first to fill the third spot in the first floor. And as you can see, the third LED turned off, which means that the second floor is closed and the first floor is open. And over here you can see whenever I release the buttons, the gate closes, because that means that I don't have a permit or a pay.